prophet teaches us to be ourselves. It teaches us that we have a nationality, an ancient divine creed. It reminds us that we are indigenous to the Americas and that we're Moorish Americans, and that we ought to conduct ourselves as such, having a known bloodline, pedigree, ancestry, connection to the Moorish American soil. And so we're reminded through the prophet's literature to learn to love instead of hate, and to know our higher and lower selves. In order to accomplish this, we must adhere to the 5 principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And we must conduct our mannerisms in accordance to those 5 principles in order to love instead of hate, and in order to know our higher selves and lower selves. The prophet says that Moorish Americans are upright, independent, and fearless. And we follow the prophet to a destination that is not uncertain nor unknown, and that there are smelly culprits with insidious plans to undermine the Moorish movement. And so while we ought to keep an eye out for those insidious evildoers and not get entrapped by their spells and their entrapments, their tricks, we also must fortify our minds and strengthen our thoughts in order to elevate above vice, above morallessness, virtuousness, and anything that brings about hate. Now, the prophet reminds us in the Holy Quran that a soldier never knows his strength without a foe. Or rather, without a foe, a soldier will never know his strength. And that a carnal nature was institute for man to fight in order to become the strength of Allah manifest. And Allah being the higher self, being one with Allah, we must act and manifest our very being in existence in the higher self in order to become one with Allah. And that is the goal of our spiritual unfolding on this plane and on the soul plane. And that doesn't mean that we're perfect, because if we were perfect, if anyone was perfect, we wouldn't be on this earth plane. But the object is to become perfect according to the will of Allah, to become what we are meant and destined to be spiritually, so that the foe, which is the fleshly nature, is to be subject to our higher and divine selves. How did the prophet begin to uplift fallen humanity? is by teaching us to be ourselves. So I wear a fez when I go to work to present myself clearly as a Moorish American, a Moorish American national, being part and parcel of the government, the indigenous government, and also being having connection with the institution or the institutions that Noble Drew Ali put in place in order to navigate the colonial occupiers, institutions, and establishments. As long as everyone adheres to the constitutional code of government, everyone should be able to get along for the most part, as in peace, which is the foundational point of our religion, which is Islamism. It's the peace system. And for a reference point, you want to look at the Great Law of Peace, codified by one such indigenous subgroup, calling themselves the Haudenosaunee. And there's other subgroups, sub-indigenous groups, ethnic groups on the North American and the North American continent and the American continents, who codify the Great Law of Peace, of the spirit, the nature of the Great Law of Peace in their particular constitutions and ethnic, cultural dispensations. But that's one reference point. And I already gave you a couple other reference points, which is the Quran, the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America, and also the 101 questionnaires, questions from Moorish Americans. Nationality is not a religion. Though religion, the scripts, will often guide its narrative with the use of national names like Canaanites, Hittites, Jebusites, Israelites, Moabites, in order to tell the spiritual story of how to unfold one's development to the higher planes of life. So be not fooled that we are Moorish Americans, indigenous, aboriginal to the land, that we have a birthright to our nationality of Moorish American and our religion, which is Islamism. It's the peace system. Anyways, that's it for now. I'll check you guys later. Peace. Islam.